Hello aviators, I welcome you on board flight of Captain Vijay in this series of flights to study air regulations for DGCS, CPL and ATPL examination. Today we will cover the first topic, which is treaties and conventions. There have been a large number of treaties and conventions in the field of civil aviation in the past, and they will continue in future also. Treaties and conventions ensure safety of commercial air transportation by adopting standard practices internationally, and they also promulgate rules and regulations which are applicable and acceptable to all countries and airline involved in commercial operation. The topic being large, I have divided the lesson in two videos. In part 1, we'll cover the major treaties and conventions, and in part 2, we'll cover the certain definitions as well as meaning of certain terms. So without any further delay, fasten your seatbelts as we are ready for takeoff. First International Conference on Civil Aviation took place in 1919 at Paris. During this convention, three things were deliberated upon. First is, airspace above a country's geographical boundary belongs to that country. Hence, every country has absolute right to permit or deny a commercial flight over its airspace. Second, crew competency must be ensured for commercial aviation. And third is, airworthiness of aeroplane involved in commercial operation must be ensured. The Chicago Convention 1944. This is the most important convention in the history of civil aviation and also from exam point of view. This convention defined 5 freedoms of air. The convention formulated 18 annexures and it also led to formation of ICAO. 52 states participated in Chicago Convention in November 1944. This convention also defined that no scheduled commercial air transport may operate over or into the territory of a contracting state without that state's previous consent. It established the need for adoption of international standard and recommended practices, short name SARPs, for making common rules and procedures in the field of aviation. So let's discuss the most important outcome of this convention, which is freedom of air. As part of Chicago Convention, 2 agreements were made called International Air Service Transit Agreement and International Air Transport Agreement. The International Air Service Transit Agreement established 2 technical freedoms of air. So what is the first freedom or first technical freedom? It is the privilege to fly across the territory of another participating state without landing. For example, an airline flying from a country A to B can overfly country C, which falls en route. Of course, when 2 countries are at war, then they withdraw this permission temporarily. Second freedom, the privilege to land in another country for non-traffic purposes like refueling or repair. So while flying from country A to B, you can land in country C for refueling or repair. The International Air Transport Agreement established the 3 commercial freedom of air, and they are as follows. Third freedom, the privileges to carry passengers boarded in the state of registration in another state. So an airline flying from India to United States can carry passengers which are destined for United States. Fourth freedom, the privilege to take on passenger destined for the state of airline registration in another state. For example, Air India flight returning from United States of America to India can take on any passenger who are traveling to India. Fifth freedom, the privilege for an airline registered in one state and en route to or from that state to take on traffic in the second state and put them down in the third state. What it means is that if Air India flight returning from US to India makes a refueling halt in Europe, it can take on passengers traveling to India in Europe. If you look closely to third to fifth freedom, it is evident that they are commercial freedom. allowing these freedoms protect the commercial interest of an airline. There are a total of 18 annexures to Chicago 1944 Convention. You can see them on the screen. You may not be able to remember all of them, but you should have a fair idea about them. The Tokyo Convention of 1963. This convention stated that the state of registration of an aircraft is competent to exercise jurisdiction over offences and acts committed on board. So its objective was to ensure that offences committed against safety of an aeroplane, no matter where it is committed, should not go unpunished. Hague Convention of 1970. There was a large number of hijacking cases during 1960s by terrorists and radicalized individuals. And to have a strict international law against hijack and to fix responsibilities of individual stakeholders, this convention came to existence. So it was rightly called the Convention for Suppression of Unlawful Seizure of Aircraft, and it was signed at Hague in December 1970. The convention defined what is unlawful seizure of aircraft or hijacking. It defined clear procedures and policies on jurisdiction of states, taking the hijacker into custody, prosecution, and extradition of hijacker. The Montreal Convention of 1971. There could be offences on board by passengers other than hijacking, but still it can compromise the safety of flight. So to prevent acts which can endanger the safety of a flight, this convention took place. So this convention is correctly titled as the Convention for Suppression of Unlawful Acts Against the Safety of Civil Aviation. So any of the acts listed on the screen was defined to be a serious offense, and the offender would be liable for severe punishment. The protocol supplementary to Montreal Convention of 1971. This protocol was adopted by a conference which met at Montreal in 1988. It extended the definition of offense given in the 1971 convention to include specific acts of violence at airports serving international civil aviation. So, earlier the offense was considered if it was committed on board an aeroplane, but this convention stated that even if you do these at an airport, you are liable for similar punishment. The Warsaw Convention 1929. The Warsaw Convention of 1929 defined responsibilities and liabilities of the airline with matters of compensation for loss of life, injury to passengers, delays, and loss of baggage. This convention also defined that issuing of a passenger ticket, luggage ticket, or a cargo consignment forms a contract between the airline and the person receiving that ticket. The Rome Convention of 1952. The Rome Convention of 1952 fixed the policies for cases of damage caused by foreign aircraft to third parties on the ground. It permitted the victim to file a claim against a foreign airline through the court in his state of residence, and any resulting judgment would then be enforceable in the state of the airline company. If you are confused with large number of conventions and treaties, a summary of important conventions with their outcome is shown on the screen for easy reference and assimilation, and they are important from exam point of view. So we would take a break here and cover the rest of the things in second part of the video. So hope this video has helped you in understanding the important treaties and conventions in the history of civil aviation, and also the logic of why it was required and what was the outcome. So with this we have arrived at our destination. Subscribe the channel for more such informative videos. Do not forget to comment below about how did you like the video or if you want me to cover a specific topic, and hope to see you on board again for the next flight. Until then, happy landings.